first, before anyone even gets in here, you will hear me repeat this again, or repeat some of this. So if you're watching the replays, thank you for always coming and watching the replays. For those who watch and don't comment, I know you're there also, and I really appreciate all the love, all the support that I get through my page, through my work. So just waiting for the room to fill up a little bit, but also that to let everyone know this is broadcasting on Facebook and YouTube at the same time. This shows up in both places at the same time. I'm just trying to figure out. I put this background on thinking, this might be okay to cover up the mess behind me because I'm moving. And then I'm like, I can't sit in this. This is way too fake for me. Okay, hold on here. So I hope So I'm just coming up on Facebook. You love this background? I'm like freaked out by it. Thank you, though. Thank you. So I look like a hobo today. I look like I'm like I forgot to get dressed, and I didn't forget to get dressed. I am dressed, but I am cleaning, and it is about 33 degrees in my house. So it is very, very hot, and I am cleaning and packing, and every day I do a window and I'm rearranging and packing. So sorry I'm a little bit late getting in here. I'm away here for 11:30 and then had some calls that had to make. So I'm like, but welcome. That kind of plays into the energy of today. So anyone who's coming in to watch the morning messages, your lunch, yay, Regina, that works for you, right? On these lunch times. You are more than existing. Yes, Lisa, I guess I am, right? I am more than existing. I don't know how to get it all up there. Yeah, this is, you can't, more than existing is the work that I do. It's the program, it's the book, it's everything. It is a new background. It's disguising what's behind the background. I'm glad everyone likes this. So we're letting people join in. We're letting everyone get in and fill up the room a little bit here. I do come in these morning lives to read through the energy of today. I did spend, while I was cleaning, I had my earbuds in and I was listening and watching Lisa Starr Francis. You can go catch her replay. And her and I had some real aha synchronicity moments today. And then Mama Guru is another one that I follow, and she's an astrologer. She's also a medium as well, but she read my cards years ago, but she's an astrologer, and she's pretty just real. She's real. She's from the Calgary area, and so I was listening to hers as well this morning. And because she's an astrologer, she kind of validates some of these scenes that I have as a seer, right? So I see all the images. I see what's coming. I can see the energy. So I see the air. It's weird because it's hard for people to understand sometimes that, like, I literally see, hear, feel, sense everything. So I see the air. As the air goes by, I see it. I see these things all the time. Just like I hear everything. I just got to choose. It's not like insanity. I got to choose what I let myself filter through, or what I let myself actually hear and receive. And so a lot of things are just like, let it go through. Will it matter? And so there's like a ciphering system that I do as a channel, what matters, what is for the highest good. And that's what I always ask, is like, I want the messages that are for the highest good, or the highest good for all. And it might not be pretty. We might not like it, but we might need to hear it. And so some of it is about dismantling. And so even the Guru Mama was speaking a little bit about this morning, and she was talking, and so we're all talking. We are all of us that work in this industry are all talking about things are not as they seem in a lot of areas. We have a lot of things that are going down. I call this like we're having, and I've been calling this for months, about the exposure of secrets, and we're going to be finding out a lot of things, and you're going to see a lot of dismantling of organizations, of big places, but you're also going to see some people come out in handcuffs that are in higher positions that think they're invincible. But I also have a sense and a feeling, I'm like, there was a push to give us back our freedom. That was all an agenda. That push for us to have a freedom wasn't about they cared about us. And everybody's got to stop thinking that any of these big organizations care about the everyday people. They do not care about the everyday people. Whatever they tell you they're giving to you, there's a motive behind it, and it's coming at a cost. I can tell you that, because there's a great big summit that's about to begin. There is an Olympics, there's all these things that are about to begin that includes big dollars. And it's just like all the big activist groups, all of those things. There's big bucks behind it, and there's big industries that benefit from them by squishing other people. And fear stories have led the way, all the way. And so that's coming up in the energy today. It's like we need to be, we really need to remember our people, and remember that we are all of those, that we are all of that everyday person, that everyday people. And that whole sense of, and I keep saying this, we have been, the biggest weapon at all, the biggest weapon that we have is that there is a trigger towards hate, and that we keep referring to the past and going to the past stories and hating the people that we look at today as the stories of the past. We forget that most of those stories started by an organization. It started by one thought, one story, one agenda. And then people follow suit, because people become fearful of that unknown, instead of staying in the faith of saying, if we don't all go along with, if we don't agree, if we don't give that one person or that one organization that much power, they will not have that much control. And that's what we're being pulled back to. All right. And that's exactly the truth that where we are coming back into, is that your neighbor is not your enemy. The human race is the weapon. It is the biggest weapon. That's my publishing company calling me. It is the biggest weapon that we have, is that whole sense of the everyday person being turned against each other. So when we're able to turn, prime example, the man on the cross, right? Who decides who does that? Prime example, the witch stories, the whole essence of the witch hunt and turning people into witches. Same thing. So when somebody who doesn't agree with you you turn somebody who doesn't agree with you into your enemy, you can create any story about them, and you can turn them into anything that you want, and you will believe it, because the mind does not know the difference between imagination and reality. It's something else that is inside of us. And that is our free will choice, but our hearts to also say, you know what? Does that really feel right? But after you are so angry, once you're angry and you're worked up and you're in that energy, you start to believe your own story. You start to believe that critic. You start to believe that enemy. You start to believe that, and you become that enemy that's within you. And so there's a lot of that. And so last night I was drawn to find this, to pull this Prince energy. And so I mean the singer Prince. And then all of a sudden this astrologer's thing popped up, and she was also speaking about Prince. But she had a whole different song, but her message was exactly kind of the same, in the same story, with a triangle, a circle, a square that I'm talking about in my Diamond Effects program. She's talking about, but I never realized that symbol of the triangle with a square with a circle, actually, that is what I was getting, because I see things differently, right? I see things a little bit differently, because I relate everything back into my diamond. And so the message was the same, like very similar. And I'm like, we are all in that same paradigm. We're all in that same energy. We're all receiving these messages, but there's a frustration that comes with this, because people don't want to listen, right? It's like, until we're crumbling, and then all of a sudden somebody will go, well, I think, you had all these brilliant minds that you don't look at as brilliant minds, because they either don't have university degrees, or they're not your political party, or they're not a celebrity. So you don't listen. And they forget that we are just voices and faces that channel through something that comes from out there, that channels through us, that provides these messages. And even then, it'll be the turn. And I said, when they all start talking about come back together and have faith and be on the right side and like not choose sides, I'm like, that's what we've been talking about since the beginning of this pandemic. We've been talking about this since the beginning of time. We've been talking about this since we were all burnt on the freaking stakes. Like, all of this truth has been spoken so many times. When are we going to be ready to freaking listen? So as I pulled that Prince even speaks about the musicians, like in those songs. And so the song that I kept getting is When Doves Cry. When Doves Cry. I woke up this morning with a dove. I went to bed last night after all that. I had to get up out of bed at 1:00 in the morning. I had to get a candle, put in my clear quartz. It looks like a lotusy flower, but in my clear quartz candle holder, put it in front of a mirror and let it reflect the light all night, to reflect that light out into the world. So you can see the reflection of the light everywhere. And I'm like spreading that love. And then I woke up this morning to doves, and I kept seeing the doves, and I kept seeing peace, but I kept seeing doves crying. There is doves crying. We talk about these organizations that are all about peace and all about creating peace and creating good things for humanity. It's all about lining pockets. It's all about the highest good for them. Our neighbors, your community, the people next to you, the people that are in your world, they're about the highest good for us. We are about, creating space and having picnics and having group picnics and having come-togethers and having gatherings, having concerts, having events that are about peace, that are about love. Woodstock. Oh, shit. As I put this on today, Woodstock. That was an intention about peace. Crying doves, what I'm seeing is that what we believe they're doing to bring peace is not peace. It's master manipulation. And we're seeing it on big levels. And so where in our own lives do we do that to other people? Do we think that we're creating peace in our heart and saying, I just took that person out of my life because this person did this and they did that and they're this kind of person, and you repeat it to 8,000 other people. You repeat it to every other person that you know about your actions, about what you did, as if you deserve a hero biscuit for what you just did. So while you belittle, you put somebody else down, you're bullying them, you're telling everyone else what a not nice person they are. You're dragging everybody to your side, and then you're talking about the boundaries you're creating and how great you are because you've created boundaries. No, you turn somebody into an enemy because they did not align to what you wanted to hear or what you wanted from them. So the master manipulator is alive inside of us. And when you find yourself doing those things that are an intention to move away and to shift us farther away from living in peace to create what you're calling your peace, is ultimately you still live with that. You still live with that choice, that decision. And trust me, I've had it done to me. I've had it done to me so many freaking times. And it's a weird kind of thing to have done to you. It's a weird energy to exist within that you can literally watch. You can watch that group, that energy that happens when people cluster and group together. It's like, and I would see it even in my hairdressing industry. It's like one person would take your words, turn into something else, and then they would say that you said that about somebody, which you didn't say, and then it would be turned into this, and then they would tell all their friends, and then all their friends would say, well, we don't go to her, then you'd be boycotted, then you'd be banned, right? Then you'd be off the list, and they'd be all proud themselves that they just took food off your table, they made up a lie, they took your words, they turned it around, and they had to tell everybody because ultimately, it's not a truth. It's not the full truth, but you can convince yourself that it is a truth. We're seeing that in the world. We're seeing that when we speak about each other, when we do this. If we want to be a better world, we cannot repeat what we have done in the past at all. We cannot do those things, and we cannot hold on to them. We have to be different. So in my book, More Than Existing, I actually write I write about, moving beyond. Through the eyes of my enemies, I could see me. through the eyes of those that I couldn't understand why they were like they were, or why they spoke to me how they did, or why things happened, was I could see me. Why was I doing the things that I was doing? Why was I letting fear lead my way? And so when you let fear lead your way, you're not in faith. And so if somebody has to turn everyone else into a weapon, into an enemy, to conquer, to divide people, then they obviously are not selling you something, selling you a story, selling you a truth that is not in alignment to what they really believe. They don't have faith in what they're selling. They have fear that something else is going to be exposed. If you reveal it all, if you tell it all, if you give it all, and you give people a choice to decide for themselves, then you're being honest, you're being authentic. Say, you know what, there's a good chance that this could go wrong, this could happen. You know, I'm not telling you that I'm going to solve everything in the world. I'm just telling you that this is what I'm doing. This is what's working for me, or what's not working. This is my intention. This is what I would love to see happen, but I can't guarantee it. Wouldn't that be, but how many people would follow that? Right? Because we want instant satisfaction, gratification. We want it right now. We want to know right now. We want everyone to do everything we want them to do. We do it in our partnerships. So today we're about watching when we speak about what brings us into peace, what takes us farthest from that peace. And so what is it costing you to live in your peace? Is it costing you a friend, a family? What is it costing you? And what story did you give to provide that for yourself? Right? Like, really, truly look at it. Because if we don't want to be the weapons and the enemies, let's start with us, and let's be better neighbors. Let's be better friends. Let's be more of everything we want to see in the world, and less of everything we don't want to see. I don't pull in my dailies. I don't pull individual cards for people. But yeah, if you have an energy question, like something to do with life and energy, ask it. It may be related to what's coming up here. Hello, everyone who's joined in. So when you hear me speaking and I'm not looking over at everybody and I'm not reading the comments, it's not that I don't want to see it. I'm channeling. I'm channeling a message. And so when you're channeling, you're not in. So when I'm channeling, you don't have all of Corey. I bring back in to my own brain self, but you give over a large part of yourself to channel. And so I can't do everything. I can't read and answer all the comments when I'm in a big message like that. You have to let the message out so that it doesn't get contaminated, so it doesn't get messed with, and you have to let it go. So, and by the way, just to let you know, when I'm done giving those messages, just like when I teach my classes and I channel through all of my classes, I don't remember them. They're no longer with me. That's a part of being a mystic, is that as a mystic who has no attachment to the outcome or to the message, because I have to keep moving on to the next thing. I have to keep going to the next message, is that you can't get stuck or stay in the story or in the message. So I never know what's coming. And that's what I said to Lisa this morning. Like, it'd be interesting to see what's going to come after all of this, because you never know what's coming. You love my top? Thanks. It's actually, make sure I don't run over a dog. It's actually like a bathing suit cover. It's a long one with two big slits up the side, and it's and Claire, it's from Nordstrom, the Nordstrom Nordstrom Rack store over. Yeah, if you're in Edmonton, it's right by IKEA. It's a big like outlet type of store. I love deals, and that's where this come from. Thanks. I wear bathing suit cover-ups. I wear bathing suit cover-up as shirts, as jackets, as dresses. I put other layers underneath them, just to let you know. I do all those things. I never get stuck in, if this is what I always say, just because it's labeled one way doesn't mean that's what it is, right? It doesn't mean that's the only thing that it can be used for. It's just like I have the name Corey Thorne, the spiritual healer, but that's not all that I do. I'm a mystic, and most people don't know what a mystic is. Most people don't even know what what channeling is, and so most people don't even know what a spiritual healer is sometimes. But I'm in everything. I would like to just be called Corey, and just leave it at that. But people need titles and labels, so people would not wear this. People would say, "Oh, that's a bathing suit cover, so I can only wear it if I go to the beach." How many times do we do that in our lives, right? Oh, that's only for this. It's just like I remember we had somebody cleaning one time, and she's like, "I need to go get toilet bowl cleaner." I said, "Well, just use some of the other cleaners." And she said, "Well, no, you can't clean the toilet because it's not a toilet bowl cleaner." And I'm like, it's a freaking cleaner. Every one of the cleaners are made of the exact same product. The only difference with a toilet bowl cleaner, it is jelly-like, so it sticks to the side of the toilet. Everything else is called a selling market. It's to make it marketable. It's a selling market. It's to make it sellable as something else. So you can take all the same ingredients that's in every single product, put it in a different bottle, give it a different label, give it a different name, and somebody will go out and buy every one of those products and purchase every one of them and believe they're all something different. And it's all the same. It just got a different label because people need those labels. And so that's another message for today, right? Is that whole sense of how many times in our lives do we do that? I can't use this. I can't do this because this is what it says is for. I used to get it all the time in hairdressing when they wouldn't use it, "Oh, I can't use that developer with that color." And I'm like, "Why can you not?" And they're like, "Well, the product line says." I said, "Well, because they're selling you their product. They don't want you to use another product. It might be tweaked. It might be a little different, but the color will still work exactly the same with another developer." "Oh, no." I'm like, "Watch this." And that's how limited our thinking is. And so we have to look at how we limit our thinking by making people enemies, by how much stuff that we stick to the label or the way things were done or what we're told, right? And it's like, what if? What if? And that's the beautiful thing about being a seer, is that I can see things well beyond the limited thinking. I don't have a limited belief thinking. I have ability to see all perspectives, to see things in a different way, in a different light. Bleach. I put that shit on everything. Me too, Joanne. I still use bleach. I love bleach. I was going to take this background down because it was freaking me out and everybody likes it. And I'm like, oh, okay. It was kind of freaking me out. I feel like I'm like, see if you move, watch. It's like this. It's weird. On Zoom, if on Zoom, your hand will literally disappear. So if I turn my chair a certain way, you'll see two dogs on the floor that are skinned. Okay, let me get to the cards because, I'm kind of now wasting time. See, you should leave me in channel. Let me get to the cards because I do have things to do today, and we're celebrating my granddaughter's birthday tomorrow. We had some good news this morning. So the energy that's out there is, I'm owning it, Lisa. I'm owning my crazy. And so the energy that's out there today is very up and down. Just to let you know, it's according to astrology and according to everything that I've gotten from astrology. And I was listening to the Mama Guru this morning and her astrology. It made sense to what I'm seeing, what I'm witnessing. It's very up and down, very unpredictable. There's a lot of unpredictable energy. I do feel like this is a little bit the calm before the storm. I kept saying, it's like we got a lot more secrets to be dug up. And I feel like there is some accountability to be held on higher levels. I feel like we're finally starting to see that, it's like we can't blame everybody. We have to hold the right people accountable for the right things. And that we can't keep letting everybody kind of fall into that. And like I said, everything is opening back up because they got some big money-making events that need to happen. It's got nothing to do with you. It's got to do with a great big summit, which I do. And I know Mama Guru also said this today. I just feel, and I channeled this message 2 years ago around this time. It's on my YouTube. Something is still, there is still things that are about to go down. And I don't know what it is yet, but there's still things to still go down. So our card of the day started with Corey. Started with Corey going from channel to Corey. And then we have the awareness card, Corina. And so when we're looking at what needs to be changed, what needs to be done, let's make that about us. And well, lost my cards. Hold on. Sorry, my cards disappeared. Oh dear. They're not there. Downloads. Here we go. Let me find my cards. And this card is number 40 that we're bringing up first. Total retrograde moment. The card is missing. It's like they're all reversed. Okay, something weird. The cards will not open, so we can't have the cards. You got to look at the cards this way. I think maybe because I got the screen up. Maybe that's it. So this is the awareness of... See? It's freaky. Look. Awareness of truth. Corina Thorne. Right? The awareness of truth, who you are. And so what we're speaking of is that you're like, what energy we're in right now is that it's not about searching for who we are or what we are. It's remembering who we are. It's remembering what we are. We are all of love and light. We were that before our faded experiences. We were that before our hurt. We were that before our pain stories. We're that before everything that we existed in this world. We were that. We arrived as love and light. And that's what we're being asked to return to, is to be love and light. Why, when somebody has a view or somebody has a question, why do we have to turn into keyboard warriors? Why do we have to become assholes to each other? Why do we have to get into this egotistical competition of words that becomes what I like to call opinions? Why does it, when somebody says, you know what, I'm just unsure of what my decision will be, that somebody decides that they should post every single link to their view, to their side, and then get into a big fight and say, well, you're just dumb and you're just stupid and you're reckless and you're this and you're that. No, they're not. No, they're not. They're human beings who are using their free will choice, and thank God we have that, to question what they're uncertain of because they have a gut feeling or they have a sense or they have a knowing inside themselves that something just don't feel right for them, and it's their choice and it's their decision. They're not asking for your freaking opinion. And that's what you have to keep remembering, is that why do we feel the need to jump down everybody's throat? Why do we feel the need to have to get that, to come after each other? And it's like everybody has a choice to choose. And if we start taking away that freedom, what you're going to see is you're going to see us have no freedom. So you not wanting someone else to have a thought, opinion, a different view because it makes you uncomfortable, well, that means if we let that all be taken away, then we will have none. And then we'll be very robotic and we'll be very suppressed, and we're going to be head further back. We're here to go forward. We're here to move forward. And so to move forward means is that we can share love and light. We can share what we know is coming to life. We can share what we need to share. We can have our own points and our own views. And you can look at it and go, well, that's interesting, or that doesn't suit me. Or you can read it all and say, I want to read all sides. I want to read everything. I want to know more. And so even when I'm working with people or when I'm with my friends and they'll use words and I'm like, Tell me a little bit more about that word. Tell me what that means for you. And what that means is I am interested. I want to understand what your energy is, or why that is the way it is for you. There might be a beautiful story behind there that no one else wants to hear, because you're so caught up in being caught in the very first words that come out that you don't want to hear beyond. So let's just say, for example, if somebody said to you, well, I don't want to do this because and it's not for me. And then you go, well, you're just this and you're that, and you're such a loser and you're reckless. But then if you stop and listen, and they said, and if you let them expand beyond that, and they say, well, I lost somebody who went through an experience similar to this, and I lost them and they passed away on me. And so I have questions. I don't want to just jump on that. Now, doesn't that change your story? Can you not have more compassion for the fact that people have to take some more time to consider what is going to be best for them? Civilization. We're in civilization, which means to be civilized, which means to be compassionate, which means to be caring, which means to be kind, which means that we don't have to label people, because the minute you label someone, as a certain way, then you convince everybody that they're that way. There is a few people that I follow that are very much, they are beating to their own drum and doing their own thing, and they have been shunned in so many places. They're called conspiracy. And one is a doctor, and she is a doctor. And, people are like, she's this and she's that. I'm like, I would like to have half of her intelligence, because she has the intelligence, because she has the background. She has a right to, she's questioning because she has wisdom and she has knowledge. So she's a channel. She does this kind of work, but she's also a legit doctor who spent many years in university, many years training. So she has questions, and I appreciate listening. And so there's these places in our time, there's spaces and places for us to all have views and to have thoughts and to be able to share them, and then to, really truly make up your own mind, decide for yourself. But we don't attack each other for having different views. And that's the truth. And that's called more than existing, right? You take ownership of just what you are going to be responsible for. What am I responsible for? What is my duty? What is my duty? And hello to everybody who's in here with me today. Right? Feels like the calm before the storm. I'm seeing that people attacking people on different opinions. Yes, Claire, exactly. And I'm like, is that worth it? And who's that serving today? So that you can, I'm like, and why are you letting it ruin your freaking day? Why let it ruin your energy? Jaden, I don't know if you're still here. I didn't see you. If you're still here, Jaden, I didn't see you post your comment that you wanted to ask me. And so, yeah. And so the awareness of the truth is finding out who we are. Is that love? Is that, we're love and light. Before we are anything else, because everything else is conditioned program, we're love and light. Who are you when you arrived? And remembering that means that you also are love and light for you. You're love and light for you. Do you let things take you from your personal peace? Do you fight for the stranger? Do you fight for the stranger? Do you fight for that big corporation and become enemies with your friends and family? Right? It's like there's such truth there. But the crying the doves is what gets to me. Like my doves are my story of today for me. Is that doves? I'm seeing the doves, and it's about our personal peace and what story we're telling ourselves to create that personal peace. And sometimes we have to block out the world. Sometimes you have to just live in your little la-la land, because what's in your control? What's in your control? What can you change? What can you change? What can you do? What actions will you do? I did answer it. See, Jaden, how it rolls, right? That's energy. When I wait for the room to fill up, I'm not feeding off of, I'm fueling on the energy that's coming in. And so I'm asking, what is of the highest good? What is it that they need to hear today? What is the message? And to just trust that. And that's the beauty of this, that I don't think people really understand, is that When I come in and people say, choose a card for me, and I choose individual people, then I'm channeling into one energy. When I come in here and I'm giving and I channel through, I'm picking up the energy of all, of the collective of all. And I'm asking what is for the highest good. So what's in the back of your mind, what you're questioning, what we're behaving like, what we have happening, they're picking that up and they're giving you the answers that are resonating, that can be of service to you. And it's not about calling people out. It's about saying, hey, let's look at it from a new perspective. Let's look at it from a collective view. Let's look at it from the middle road, and from that middle space, and from that place deep inside of us, to just be able to see that, like, there's no attachment. So to have no attachment, I have no personal attachment to the outcomes. I always say, I am here in this life. They planted me here. I think I came kicking and screaming, but I'm planted here. I'm put here to be a part of whatever transpires and whatever the experiences are. I'm to be a part of it, and I'm to be able to pull from it the love and light, to pull from it the experiences. So even so much as my sufferings, so my pains, my sufferings, my faded experiences that I've existed within, all of those were a part of the greater lessons, the blessings, the lessons that that I was here to exist within, and to see how I would respond, react, and how I would keep moving forward and keep walking towards the light, keep walking towards love, keep walking towards what we call the God consciousness, and to keep moving that direction and not to fall away, not to lose faith. And that is something that I can honestly say, is that no matter what, I'm not losing faith. And I'm not letting fear lead my way. And trust me, I'm living in an existence where I probably, if I'd be a fool to not to say it would have been easier for me to just go get a job, work somewhere where I was guaranteed an income, and go home. And this is not glamorous. This is not glamorous. And trust me, it has not made me wealthy. It's like this is the call. And to trust that call to keep walking towards that light has come at some big cost and some big sufferings and some big choices and decisions. But to stay in faith, to stay in love, to stay in awe, to still love humanity, to still be, to still know that there's still hope and faith, that speaks volumes. And stubborn me just not wanting to listen until they send me here. I know, Jaden, right? So Jaden, I'm going to give you a little bit of like inner peace here. So what I'm actually working on right now is my awareness of opinions, right? And that's a big thing. And I'm working with the phase, because I'm preparing to teach that fairy energy this weekend. And phase, I'm like, I never wanted to work with the fairy energy at all, because there's some real asshole energy in the fairy energy. Because it's just like, there's this, this struggle of belief, and to be underestimated, to be misunderstood, to be turned into something that we're not. And that really comes up with the fae energy. That comes up in the fairy, the elf, the mystical world. And in everything that I do, is that you spend a lifetime like almost feeling like sometimes you have to prove yourself. But what I found for me, Jaden, was that in being my human, so just being Corey, is that, and having ADHD or having ADD, whichever one that it is that I am, is by having those things, and by having moments where I do get frustrated because I listen to everybody, that all my friends, all my people in my world say, oh my God, like I just listened to so-and-so and they just said this and they just said that. And I'm like, I've been saying that to you for fucking years and you don't listen to me. And so I find myself in my own personal space that I was a little bit opinionated, not on social media, not there, but in my personal world is when I get frustrated, when I get that, is that this opinionated person shows up. She's like this little energy that just starts to sneak out of me, and that little bit of stubbornness. And so my awareness of that is that it's bringing awareness that it takes away my personal peace. When it happens, I'm like, I don't like her. And I don't like that. And why is that happening to me? And why am I behaving that way? And so I've had to question that. And I said, and so I always sit down and I go back to my partner and I say, you know what? I know what this is. This is my truth. And learning to speak our truth in a beautiful way, in a loving way, love and light way, means that it also is a healing way. And so I go back to my partner and I say to him, you know what? I'm just hurt. It saddens my heart that that I'm blessed to be able to do this, to be able to have these messages or to be able to do this work. And it hurts, and it hurts. I get hurt. I'm a human. People think she can handle it. She's tough. She's strong. I'm a human. People treat me like I don't have, people treat me like I don't have the same emotional connection to being human as everybody else. And I'm like, it hurts my feelings. My feelers hurt like everybody else's. So I spend a lot of time in that sad energy of feeling very underestimated, right? And so in that, but the only person that it's hurting is me. It's because it takes away that interpersonal peace. So my awareness of truth in my healing through the Diamond Effects program that I teach, because everything I teach, I also learn on a higher level. Of course, I've walked through awareness of a lot of things, and I just got reminded yesterday of, oh, she's so bossy. How could she be such? And it wasn't that I was bossy. And I'm a very in control person. And what I know, I know. So when my channel knows, I don't waste time. I don't waste time on what I know is not going to work. If I know it's stupid and it's not going to work, why would I invest time into it? My channel guides me. I'm guided by that faith. The problem is everyone else wants to argue that through sometimes, but I'm also human. And so I'm very passionate. I'm very strong. And so these parts of me, I changed the word bossy. I'm a very aware person. I'm very consciously aware, and I very much want people to do their own thing. And I don't tell people how to live their lives. I guide people into making their own right choices. And before you know it, you're changing your own mind. You're doing your own decision. But I also realize that when I am upset and I'm sad, I get opinionated. And that is hurt. So it's not opinionated. So when you find the right words, Jaden, when you find your right words, you find your truth. And then you're speaking your truth to you. So I'm hurt, and it hurts my heart. It makes me sad. And because I am human. So find your right words, right? Find the right words that are your true truth, and you'll always speak your truth. Because when you speak your truth, you speak it directly to you. You're hearing it yourself when it comes when it comes from your head, when you get out of your head, it comes over your lips, it enters into your heart, it does a circle, it goes into your heart. And when your heart receives the message from you, when you hear your own vibration of the energy, and your heart now receives it, it hears it, you feel for yourself. You then have compassion, and you care enough to then know, well, what do I need to change? What do I need to do? And part of it was I need to learn to speak my truth, because I let people believe of what they think I am as a person, as a human. I'm that always strong, I'm that Aries energy. I'm a very strong, confident person, but I hurt very easily. And I spend every single day feeling all of the hurts of the world. All the hurts. I feel it in the air. I feel it everywhere I move, everywhere I walk. But I also know that I have to let myself be able to feel my own truth. But I neglect that feeling for myself because I don't get the right words. And so working through the Fae energy and creating that program, I start to discover that I'm discovering some truths about myself. So I hope that helps you, Jaden, and I hope that answers your question. I told you, I give you all of my truth. I don't hold anything back into who I am and what I am, because I'd rather put it out there than to have secrets in my closet, right? What's my sacred is my sacred. But these things, if it can help somebody else, if it can help someone else make a choice and decision in their lives, then I'm happy. I'm happy to be able to share it. Right. And you feel that, right? That makes sense to you. Destiny, it always seems like you are speaking to me. I am. I'm speaking to all of you. That's why it's here. Right? A lot of those who are keepers have been fed into it, right? Programmed and play. Well, yes, and a lot of people like so when people are being those keyboard warriors, is that there's a lot of fear stories that are fed as truth, and we, not everybody is awake and aware. So a lot of things that a lot of our actions are unconscious. Like we're not aware of our own actions, our own behavior, and we believe it to be acceptable, to be normal because society has made it acceptable, has made it normal, has made it that way. And we're conditioned to believe that to be. And it doesn't mean that in a whole, so I look at people as a whole. In a whole, it doesn't mean that they're horrible, bad people. Right. And so, and this is, and I was speaking about some of this today, about something. I'm like, I said, or the last few days, um, I was speaking about, I want to read Becky's thing. I'll read that in a second, Becky. And so when you're looking at life, and I'm trying to give this in a sensitive way. So we look at all the bad, we look at what society has done. We look at people who are involved in organizations. So I just, and I know this from working personally with somebody who was a sister who was in an organization one time, and she was she was a nun, and she was in there from the time she was a little child. So she was also programmed. She was conditioned. It wasn't who she was. It was where she was orphaned and placed, right? So she was placed into it, and then so she was evolved into it. So everything that she believed was only everything that she knew. You act and you behave upon what you're taught, what you're conditioned to believe, what you're conditioned, and fear leads the way. So when you're feared into faith, then that's what leads the way. And so when you're told that something is of the better good, or when you're fearful that you have absolutely nowhere else to go, you choose the lesser of two evils. Right. And so people often are choosing the lesser of two evils, and both are wrong. So when you're only when you're so feared and you feel like you're trapped and you feel like you're stuck, just like being in an abusive relationship, is that you feel like you in your head you're telling you have absolutely nowhere else to go, and your only two choices are evil, and one is this evil, one is that evil, and you have to choose the lesser of two evils. And so that happens. And so when we get to know deeper stories, there is that, and then there's just all out fucking evil, right? There's just all out evil. And the evil started with the original. And when you go back to the original that does that, that leads the way, that brings people in, that traps people in their stories, that's where it begins. And so we have to get back to finding I would say, find our original fear, find our original source, and know that is there's so much to be learned, and so much to be healed, and so much to be discovered, and so much to be stopped. There's so much of what was in the past, or in our belief system, or brainwashing people, convincing people, that needs to stop. Teach people to strengthen the intuition, strengthen people to know that give people choices and choose, and also to know that love and light and beautiful things do not come at a cost of hurting another. Good things does not ever come at the cost of hurting another. I don't have to hurt somebody to become a good person. And that's a truth. And we have to bring those changes forward. We got to be better, and we can't hurt people to move into a beautiful future. If we hurt more people, we are going to be just on repeat. We got to do something different. And that's the truth in all of our journeys, because hurt becomes many other things. Becky, a lot of those who were keeper, we read that one. Oh yes. And there's me. Oh, I can't see it all. Oh, yes. There's more to me than being weird, strange, my witchy, right? Delete can banish these. Corruption lies and stays in power is always right. And so maybe one day many more people will start to awake, realizing. So I would say there's lots of people that are awake. There's lots of people that are fearful. And there's a lot of people that do things just to be a part of organizations, just to be a part. So what makes the cancel culture any different than what we are witnessing experiences in other areas of our lives? Judgment, right? What we have to look at our judgment and how we judge and how we decide who's good enough, who's valuable enough, and who's worthy enough. Yeah. It's not about fitting in. It's about becoming the best of us. Yeah. And so there's I call it like the secret society that's not so secret, Becky. Right? The secret society that's not so secret. And there's not very secret about what they do. They're outright bold about what's happening. And so there's a lot of things that we are seeing, witnessing. Yeah. So we got to remember, we have to remember this in our own choices and decisions. When we judge another, when we shun another, when we shut out another, you have to remember those actions are exactly how those things started. Those mobs, that manipulation, that culture, all started by that thought. And so we can't be that thought in our own selves. And that's the difference. We have to remember that it all starts with that thought of judgment, of when we place judgment up on another of who is good enough, who is worthy enough, who is the right kind, who fits in, who belongs in my group. My world is open to all. And I've worked with some pretty shady people over the years who've been through who's done some, not so good things, and then they've had to really face themselves and look at themselves and find that place. And I didn't get to judge them, but if I'm love and light, and if I'm here to work through that God consciousness, there's something to be said about what my role is. And that's where it comes in. But also knowing that I have to stay safe. There's a difference. But our choices and decisions to be in judgment is exactly how all of that started. How do you think those residential schools started? Judgment. Somebody decided who was going to be enough. It's another form of the so-called cancer culture, right? It's let's keep canceling people out. We're not here to cancel. We're here to come together. And the more that we keep divide, and the more we keep dividing, the more we're going to run into more and more of these problems. We can have we need to have our cultures. We need to remember who we were, but we also have to evolve into who we're becoming. And there's so many of us that are blended. We are blended in diversity and love. And so when somebody asks me who I am and what I am and what I am Mi'kmaq First Nations, but my dad's a white man, and my mom is Aboriginal, and I call myself blended in diversity and love. And I'm very thankful to be blended in diversity and love, and that to see that judgment that gets placed, whether I'm judged for being too white, for being not enough of this, not enough of that. Nobody gets to decide, because nobody walks in our shoes and nobody knows who we are. But we do get to come together, and we do get to be love and light together. And that's how we can be the change in the world. Stay us, stay who we are at our core of love and light, and be authentic to that and live by that. And if we can all start to return to that, we'll have a much better world. And that's where we need to go. So, but that's my message of today. I wasn't going to be in there this long. I got lots to do. And it's really, really freaking hot. So I love you all so very, very much. Thank you for being here with me. I will not be in tomorrow. We're having my granddaughter's first birthday party is tomorrow. So I'm going there to spend it with my little Sadie. And everybody, have a beautiful weekend. There's still time to get into my weekend program, my program that starts this weekend. It's only 2 weeks. It's 2 Sundays. And it's the mystical realm. They're going to be done in series. So we have much happening coming up. We are also soon launching the 7 prayers. That's also going to be coming out. That's recorded. But my mystical realm starts with the phase, and that program starts this weekend. It is only 2 Sundays. You get spend 2 hours with me as I channel through the phase. I never know what's coming all the way through on them. They give me what they want me to speak of. I do a lot of research. I do work on it as well, but it's always channeled through. So we're going to work with the phase this weekend and whatever falls into that, and that's going to be Sunday. So you still got time to get into there if you want to get into that program, into Corey School of Magic. You go to Corey School of Magic. It's on teachables.com, and you can get into the link. I don't know if it's on the bottom. If you go to CoreyThorne.com, actually, if you go to CoreyThorne.com, you can find it all. And you sign into the school for free. And then anything that's free in there, you can just do. But the other stuff, when you sign up for that course, I think it's like $66 for the 2 classes. And it's 2 hours each time. So, and they are recorded. So if you can't make it to the lives, the recordings will also be in there. So much love. Have a beautiful, beautiful weekend. And I'll see you soon. Bye-bye. And thank you all.